Hello, I'm Jon Olken, and this is another edition of Meet the Mayor. And luckily, we have Mayor Jerry Larsen of the village, and we're going to talk about some of the issues that are important to villagers, we hope.
Yeah. Good morning, John.
Good morning. Lovely. Great to see you. How's your summer?
So far, so good. Everything was very crowded over the weekends, and restaurants are busy, and I like all that.
Me too. I love summer. I love it.
I love all the people around, and it's just a really
when it really comes to
time.
life, and
Yeah.
the trees are green, and
Right.
the place, and people are out there.
yeah. And then by the time fall hits, you're ready for a little break. So
When are they going to leave?
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That's great. Why don't we start off with everybody's favorite subject, money. Let's talk about the budget, because I think it's later on today you're going to have a meeting that the budget gets passed, yes? Or-
Correct.
Okay, great.
Correct.
So the way the town does its budgeting is what they call zero-based budgeting. So instead of just, taking last year's budget and adding 2%, 3% to whatever, you guys start with a clean sheet of paper and you work up to a number, as I recall.
Yes, that's
And
correct.
so when you do that, there has to be a philosophy behind what you're doing. So rather than talk about the numbers this morning, let's talk about what's behind it and what are your thoughts for next year.
So what we started when I took office is we really involve our department heads, and they have to come in and meet with our budget officer and our village administrator, and they have to justify why they need each line item as they had the year before. And like you said, instead of just everybody just sitting down and budgeting, and I was guilty of it when I was police chief. We just looked at the number we had last year and we added a little more, and it was approved or not approved. So this time we really involve all of our department heads, and they have to justify why they need X amount of money, whether it's ammunition for the police department, whether it's new police cars, whether it's fire trucks, whatever it is, they have to justify to the treasurer and the village administrator, and then those numbers get put together. And we're really happy. They've done a great job, because the last 2 years, we've actually lowered taxes in the village both years, and it's exciting to be able to do that. And we've raised revenue, and we've increased services. So it's really a home run for the residents, and our staff is just we have such a great team. We do Monday morning staff meetings almost every week, unless there's a holiday or something like that. So I lead the meetings. I sit with one other trustee. We rotate that position through, and then all the department heads are there. Mm-hmm. The police department, the fire department, the ambulance, our highway department, our dispatch. Everybody's in the room, and everybody gets to talk to each other and hear. And we go around the table, and everybody fills everybody else in on what's going on within their department. So we really have, every Monday morning, we really have a roadmap for that week. And it's been working terrific. It's really increased communication between all of the departments. And not that we're a big municipality, but everybody's busy doing their own thing. And by bringing everybody together with a cup of coffee on Monday mornings, it really, we get a recap of the weekend, and then we have the roadmap for the week.
That's a really good system. In my other life when I was an executive, the communication between departments and even within the department was always key. And I learned the same thing you do, what you're talking about. You really have to sit and people get to know each other and talk about what's going on. So what are some of the highlights for next year?
Well, we really need to get a handle on the pond.
Mm-hmm.
It's really been very frustrating. We dredged the pond, and then this very aggressive weed started growing in the pond. And I know we talked about it last month, but we finally have a plan moving forward. We're going to pass it at today's board meeting, I believe, and the DEC finally approved the plan. And it basically requires us to cover the bottom of the pond, mm-hmm. but you can only do 50% for a few months, and then you have to do the other 50%. Because if there's any wildlife or anything like that in the bottom of the pond, you don't want to, cover the entire bottom,
right.
and not give the wildlife any way out.
Right,
so
right.
That's why you do 50%. So we're going to approve that, and hopefully this fall we'll start that process. And
So you'll cover the bottom with a plastic?
it's some sort of material that doesn't allow sunlight in,
Right.
and it eventually kills that weed. And then once that's dead, after a few months, then you move it to the other side of the pond.
And when do you think that'll be done?
We're going to try to get it done. It's supposed to be once we approve it. It should be within a month. We can start the process.
Oh,
So,
great, great.
and hopefully that works because it's we spent a lot of CPF money to do this project, and we did it at the recommendation of the DEC. And it's just disappointing that this has come up. It's the entry to the village, and we've done such great work in the village to make it beautiful and presentable. And then you just have this horrible swamp when you pull into the village, and it's frustrating.
Unintended consequences that
Yeah,
you just can't
of trying to do the
foresee,
right
and then
thing.
you have to fix it.
It had to be dredged. I mean, you have to remember all of that material that was in the pond is really all road runoff. So the material that was in the bottom of the pond was really not very healthy for any of the wildlife that's there. And there is criticism that we don't have any wildlife. There are 2 ducks that have moved into the pond, but there's no wildlife because there's really no food for them to eat.
Right.
They don't eat that aggressive weed. If there were plants in there, the wildlife would have something to eat. The weed has taken over everything. So until we have the weed gone and we have some food in there for the wildlife, then we'll get the wildlife back.
Come back. They'll come back.
So that's a big project going forward. And the other project is another frustrating subject for me is the septic system. So that is somewhere between a $40 and a $50 million project. We have already spent probably a couple of $100,000 exploring options for the sewer plant within the village boundary, and we've exhausted that. We had one site, we were trying to put it underground in our long-term parking lot
Right.
behind Herrick Park,
Right.
and the DEC will not approve that.
They won't.
It took a long time to get that answer, like a year and a half. So I don't. If you don't know me that well, John, but I'm not a very patient person, and
I hadn't noticed.
yeah, I like to get things done, and this is when things take a long time for me. I get very frustrated.
I
So
understand.
this is a frustrating subject for me because the sooner we have these cesspools out of the water table, the better for the water quality for the ponds.
So if they tell you can't go with the parking lot, is there any other space in the
What we're
village?
looking at is our highway department, which is off of Accabonac, which is actually in the town jurisdiction. So we're looking at that now. So that's where we are.
And so that has to go through the system again.
And then we have to involve the town government because we'll need permitting through them because we'll have to, rip up roadways to put the sewer pipes all the way down to the highway department. We're really hoping to keep it in the village, but it would save money and it would be, we wouldn't have to go through another municipality.
Yeah. But the long-term effects will pay for itself in the.
Yeah, and it would also, if it goes down North Main Street, a lot of those septic systems are in groundwater as well.
Right.
And they have to be pumped weekly, like Nick and Tony's and the Grill. So if we went down that street, we could pick up those restaurants that are technically in the town jurisdiction. Well, Nick and Tony's is, and
so-
Serafina.
I'm sorry. So if this is done, this now allows you to have more restaurants, more homes, more.
Yeah, well, the issue right now is having restaurants. The health department requires a certain flow rate, and right now nobody can meet that flow rate, so you can't open new restaurants. We are opening retail food establishments like the new Tudo Cafe, which is on Main Street. That falls under the restaurant requirement, and it's called a retail food, and they can have up to 16 seats, I believe it is, at any one time. So they either inside or outside. So those, we're encouraging people to open those, and we're even allowing, like we did for Tudo, we allowed them to use our parking lot for the sewer system, which is an IA system, the nitrogen reducing systems.
Right.
So we allowed them, we gave them an easement on our property. We also did that for another place that's going to be opening, another retail food establishment, which is being opened by the owners of Que Pasa in Sag Harbor, and they also own Sen, and they also own Claudio's in Greenport. So they're opening a nice little place on Newtown, and it'll have up to 16 seats, and we hope they open soon. And we also gave them an easement to put the sewer system in our parking lot.
But the long-term strategy is, I assume, is to have a little more nightlife on Main Street.
Yeah, years ago, back in the 80s, the village was hopping at night between the movie theater, and you had ice cream shops on Main Street. You had David's Cookies. You had all kinds of activity going on. Stores were open late. And then, village government actually shut that all down back in the 80s. They thought it was too much activity, so they made very tight restrictions. And it kind of shut business down for 20-something years. And now we're trying to build it back up, because our village, compared to other villages, is vacant at night. So we're trying to build that back up. And I think even these 16-seat little restaurants, or little retail food establishments, as we call them, that's going to go a long way in helping, because it's almost like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? So, we have restaurants, then you have people, and then hopefully the stores see, hey, there's a lot of activity in the village at night, let's stay open.
Stay open. Yeah, no, I agree with you with that, because we walk our little dog in town, in the village, sometimes at night, and it's dead. And we keep saying, we look at it and say, where's the life here?
Yeah.
When you look at Sag Harbor and those kind of things.
Well, what we've really done is up on Upper Newtown, near the train station. It took a couple of years, and this was our vision to bring that make that more of village life. And we are there now. Tom Cooper and his wife opened a wonderful store.
Beautiful
The
store.
village board helped them along with that. Tom brought the plans in, showed us, and we fell in love with the idea. And he did a great job on the building. He matched the decor to the building across the street, which is the old Mary's and Cabaneros way back then. Chutney, we encouraged them to come in. We were really happy to have Chutney show up. And now we have a Japanese place right next to that.
Right.
And there's a lot of activity up there. And I mean, I'm a big fan of the yogurt place. And I was joking with Tom. I'm like, I think he was open 3 days and I was in there 4 times. So, but I love it. I mean, I just love driving down there and seeing all the activity.
Yeah, no, it
and the
is
families and the kids. And that's what, the community needs. And that's what it's all about.
I think having Chutney come over was one of the great ideas.
Yeah.
And they were.
We begged them to come. They had other choices, and myself and the deputy mayor met them up there. We welcomed them. We really wanted them there. The landlord, Rob Zecker, was a terrific help, encouraging them to come over too. So, because he understands the concept, like more restaurants, the more activity, the more families, the more fun we're going to have.
Well, that corner has come alive.
Yeah.
And that's really nice.
Yeah,
And,
Mary, I miss Mary's. I'm going to have to say, I love Mary's food and coffee and everything. But she did a great job and moved on. So
there you go. So yeah, no, that's nice up there. All right. So let's move on to something else. As I understand it, the Community Preservation Fund, as set up, is to buy property, the buildings or land to keep greenery and keep the tone of the town the same.
correct, yeah. So it was basically.
You have another idea.
Well, my idea, and other villages too have the same idea. So the way it works, you have a CPF, it's a 2% tax on properties over, I think, $250,000, and it's paid by the purchaser. And it goes into a kitty, and the 5 East End towns have it. And it was really meant to buy open space. And then over time, like a lot of the open space is gone, and millions of dollars are building up in those accounts. They're managed by the 5 towns, and then the money's divvied out by the town.
So there's one pot of money.
Well, there's 5 pots of money, 5 towns. So like the town of East Hampton, the town board divvies out the money to people within East Hampton town, whether it's giving grants for IA systems to residents, whether it's giving it to the LVAS to do a bioswale over on Methodist Lane, or giving it to us to dredge the pond. So they are the managers of the money. So even though the money's generated from all different areas, they have been
Goes into
designated, and
their
that's what
bank.
state law
Right.
has. And Fred Thiel was the big push behind this, and we thank Fred because it was really a great idea. I don't know whose idea it was. Maybe it was Fred's. I don't know, but Fred gets the credit for getting it through the state
That's right,
and
Fred.
getting it done. He's always a good friend for local government. So, but my idea was the village doesn't have a lot of open space to buy, But we do have water quality issues, whether it's Town Pond, Hook Pond, Georgica Pond. And right now, they did change the CPF to add that you could spend 20% of the money on water quality. But the problem is the town, again, is divvying out the money. It's 20% of the whole pot. So if you have $1 million, 200,000 is going towards water quality. So there's really not enough of that money to go around to make a real significant impact. My idea was to remove the 20% cap and let the town divvy out the money as it's needed. So if we have $1 million sewer project that we need to get done, which is going to remove cesspools from the water table, let's do that. So we've talked to Fred Thiel, and he is working on that. We've been working on that for a while, but I think that would be a big help, at least for the villages. And I've spoke to the other mayors. You know, we have a mayors association that meets monthly. So I've talked to the other East End mayors, and they're in agreement as well, because the villages are small. We don't have a lot of open space to buy, and we could certainly use, everybody has water quality issues.
I would think so, and,
Yeah.
and it would seem to make sense.
Well, Southampton has Agawam Park. They've been putting a lot of work into that. We have Town Pond, Hook Pond, Georgica Pond. So the money would be well spent.
Good. That sounds like a great idea. Let's go to something fun. Tuesdays at the beach.
Tuesdays at Maine, we call it. And this was an idea we came up with when we first came into office. And Nancy Atlas, I reached out to her, and she was all in favor of doing it. And it just was a great hit. So the first year we did it, this is going to be our third summer. The first summer we did it, we had one band each night, and it goes from like 6 to 8, and it's really well received by everybody in the village. The second year, which was last summer, we decided it was so popular, we would do two bands. We would do an early band, which started at I think it was 6 to, only played like an hour, and then we still ended by 8 o'clock, I think it was, or 8:30. And this year we're going back to the single band format. We just didn't like, when they have the breakdown between bands,
It slows
we
things
were
down.
losing, the crowd was going home, and we were losing it. And, we have the great concession stand up there that's run by Amanda and Susan Seacamp, and they've just been, doing a great job. And it's just such a fun thing. And I talked to like Fiero's Pizza. Tuesday night's their busiest night of the week. And this is all what we wanted to do. We wanted to help local business. And I didn't really think, I thought, Susan was going to do well. She's doing well at the concession, at the Beach Hut. But I didn't realize it would trickle out to all of the pizza places and Brent's and all the delis. Everybody's getting their food to go.
Well, I remember the first year we went over, had no idea what was going on, and it was a party. It was fantastic. Big crowds. They were all having a ball. That was a great idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea. And it's all family. If you go there, you'll see kids playing and running around. And we joke about it because when I was a kid, I grew up working at the Sea Spray Inn. I was 12 years old. All my buddies would come out from the city. We would hang out at Main Beach. Back then, the 4th of July fireworks were on the 4th of July or the weekend, the Saturday. And that was really the start of summer for us. And I have great memories of all of that. And looking at all these kids enjoying themselves and dancing and having a great time, they're going to remember this for the rest of their lives.
I think so, yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. And we've also had people who are, are summer residents, if you will, right? They coming up and they go, I've lived here for 25 years and I've never felt like part of the community. And this is really nice. We've got locals, we've got summer residents, we've tourists. I mean, it just brings everybody together. And again, it's all community. So, if we look at everything from the way we're doing it, our concept coming in was to build a better business community, because we've heard over and over, and I do it too. Like when you go traveling, the first thing you do is look at the town to see if, hey, is there nice restaurants? Can we walk around? And we've kind of lost that over the years. So that was a real priority to bring back. And I have to say, it's coming back. We're doing really well.
As I say, we go there and you can see the new stuff, and you can see the park, and you can see how lovely the village starts to look. And so you're on the way.
We're definitely on the way.
It feels like that's where it's
it was
going.
20 years of shutting it down, so it's going to take a little time.
Takes a while.
But we're getting there. In the park, bringing up the park, we just finished the first project, the first phase called 1A, we're calling it, which is the new tennis courts and the new softball field and the bathrooms. And we were talking off air, the bathrooms, I used to joke when I took over, I went in there and it's like prison bathrooms. It was cinder blocks,
It was pretty awful.
no paint. It was really metal fixtures. It was awful. So when we were ready to do this, I said, listen, we need to tile it. We need to put porcelain fixtures in, and now everything is beautiful. It's touchless. It's I know here we are talking about a bathroom, but
it's important.
it is important.
It is important.
Yeah, I mean, it's very important, and people have.
Especially the day I went by and had to use it.
Yeah, right.
And
you go in there.
It's beautiful.
And the other part is keeping up on it. Like we have somebody assigned to clean those
Yes,
bathrooms.
critical.
Not just daily, but hourly or whatever it is, whatever their schedule is. But it's got to be kept on top of, and that's something the village has not historically been very good about is maintenance. Like they buy things, but then they don't maintain them. So we're really strict about maintenance on our buildings and our bathrooms and our vehicles, so we don't fall into that.
Yep.
It's just like going in a home. If you don't paint the exterior of your house for 30 years, there's going to be many more problems that are going to occur.
That's right.
And so we're trying to avoid those pitfalls because you save money over the long run.
Yes, you do. And it really looks terrific.
Thanks.
The other thing I had was traffic. And you have a traffic committee, I understand?
Yeah, so we started
And you're going to have a lovely roundabout, no?
No, we averted that crisis. So I'll go into that first. So at the intersection where the library is in 114 and Guild Hall, it's kind of a confusing area up there. So what happened is there's been a lot of accidents. So the state, since that is a state road, the state is required when they meet a certain threshold of car accidents, they have to come in and reconfigure the intersection to reduce the number of accidents. Mm-hmm. So they came down a couple of years ago and they said, listen, these are your options. We can put a traffic circle, we can put traffic lights, and it was going to be 6 traffic lights at that intersection. I personally hate traffic lights. So the other option was a roundabout. So, all right, well, let's look at that. So the engineers came back with drawings, and it would have destroyed a lot of our green and a lot of James Lane, which is all our historic area. So we started to think, all right, what can we do to get the state out of here? And what we did is we put up those barriers coming out of Dunemere to stop the cross traffic, and that reduced the accidents below the state threshold. Good. And then they went away. However, we noticed when we were doing the data on all these accidents, there were more accidents at the little Mill Road that comes between Montauk Highway and James Lane by by the St. Luke's Church. Mm-hmm. So there were more accidents there because what happens is people stop there. There's no turn lane to make a left. And when they do that, they get rear-ended. So we had more accidents there. So what we decided to do was make that a one-way street from James Lane out to Route 27 to avoid people stopping there. Mm-hmm. So we will see. We're going to keep a really close eye on this because the last thing we want is the state coming down and mandating what they're going to do in our historic district.
I know. I remember reading about it when it first came out, and I was thinking, that's insane.
It is. It would have been insane.
Backed up traffic all the way back to New York and all the way back to Montauk.
Yeah,
and people be fighting and getting around that thing.
And the other problem,
ruin the whole visual of the town.
Exactly. And the other problem I had with it is Dunemere and Further Lane would become a complete bypass of East Hampton Village and Amagansett, because if you can, race down Further Lane and Dunemere and then hit a traffic circle and pop back out and not have to go to a traffic light, or the way it is now, it's a little more inconvenient because you have to come out of there and you have to go up that little Mill Road, or you have to go all the way down James to the light.
That's right.
So it's a little more inconvenient. So hopefully that keeps it from becoming a bypass. And the other thing that I've spoke to Fred Thiel about is I would like to get speed cameras within the village as a way to stop the back roads from becoming bypasses. because you have on the back roads, and we get a tremendous amount of traffic speeding complaints in the summertime. And I'm guilty of it too. Maybe not the speeding part, but I'm guilty of using the, at least I'm not going to admit that on the air. But I'm guilty of using the back roads as a bypass as well to avoid traffic and try to get somewhere where you're going. But the problem is that you have big trucks using these roads as bypasses, and you're now mixing it with bicyclists, joggers, walkers, and that's not safe. So if we could get the authority, which we need state legislation to have the authority to put up speed cameras, we could stop a lot of these side roads from becoming bypasses.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because it would be a huge deterrent. Like the speed limit from Dunmere to Amagansett on further is 25 miles per hour. Now, I know nobody is going 25 miles per hour.
Nobody I know.
Right. So if you had the speed cameras in there, they would have to go 25 or they'd be getting summonses in the mail.
Right.
So I think it's a perfect way to stop
Oh, that's a good idea.
roads as being used as bypasses.
Because I think most people who live out here for a while figure out that
Right.
it's easy to go back behind the 27
Right.
and bypass all that.
The other option is what Sagaponic just started doing is they started doing speed bumps.
Right.
Or they call them speed humps because they're big, massive things,
Yes,
but
they
they
are.
are very expensive. We're going to do a trial basis this summer on Highway Beyond the Pond. All of the residents asked if we would put in speed humps to try to slow things down back there. And we're going to try it. But that was a $20,000 investment from the village to try this thing.
Wow.
If it works, I mean, other residents are going to want it. And then, that's going to cost a lot of money. So if we had the speed cameras, we'd be making money
Right.
and reducing speeding.
That sounds like a better way to do this.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm
I
with you.
agree. So, but we need Fred. We're going to need Fred Thiel's help getting the law
Well,
passed.
he's a terrific guy, and he seems to always have your back.
Yeah,
And,
I have a meeting with him later this month, so I
he's
plan on
terrific.
talking to him about this.
Good. Well, I see that we've used the time up
We're
again.
done again. Wow.
We've done it again.
It goes so fast. I
It's
really.
real. Well, I really enjoy it. I hope you do.
No, I do.
And I
Thank
hope
you.
the folks out there and start to see what it takes to run a village.
Yeah.
It takes a village to run a village.
It does. It really does.
So
Takes a
great.
good team.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming,
Thanks for having me.
and we'll do it again next month.
That's great.
All
I
right.
look forward to it.
So long.
Thanks.
Thank you.